Today we are going to be spending 30 minutes on the top 5 ways that small businesses can grow revenue with AI. My name is Cam Elliott. I've been in the tech space for a long time. Started in the early 2000s working in web and SEO back in the early days, and have now, I'm at the other end of that scale. I run AI retreats in Byron. I also have a consulting business that builds AI agents for other businesses, and another consulting business that helps our clients generate more revenue. This is the first of the webinars series that I've run. I'm very excited about it. Hopefully I don't have too many hiccups, but I look forward to sharing what I've got in today's session. We're going to keep it pretty tight. I want to really get these 5 initiatives. I'm hoping that they're all things that you can put into practice straight away. Even if you're not using some of the tools that I talk about, I'll try and point out other tools that you could be using. Let me see where we get with this. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to use a bit of a presentation to be able to walk us through today, keep me on track a little bit. I sometimes can waffle. So I will use this, and then I'm also going to do a live demo at the end of one of the tools. So we're going to concentrate on these 5 initiatives. We're going to start out at the beginning of kind of generating revenue, which is really that lead gen process. And then we're going to go all the way through. And at the end, I'm going to do a little demo of a tool called Wallaxy that I am really loving at the moment, that takes away a lot of the grind when it comes to doing lead generation. So we're going to go through a lot of different parts of the sales process. So who's this for? So if you're wondering if you're at the right webinar, hopefully you are. This is really for business owners or business leaders. I've tailored it a bit to the small business space, but actually most of these initiatives would ring true if you're a big business as well. I want to keep it tight to that 30 minutes and the 5 proven strategies. And then I've got a couple of little bonuses for you that I've got at the end too, including some guides that I'm going to share and a bit of free access to Wallaxy as well at the end. So hopefully a little bit to keep you on the line for the last 30, till the whole 30 minutes. Okay, so let's dive into it. We're going to start by focusing on, before we get into the 5 points, I want to talk about this one concept. And I talk about this a lot in the teaching that I do, or even the consulting that I do with businesses. And that's the idea of having one source of truth in our AI strategy. So if you don't know, there's a ChatGPT is what's called an LLM, a large language model. And there's 4 or 5 or 6 kind of competitors in that space. You've probably heard of Gemini and Grok and Perplexity. And so there's a bunch of different other LLMs in that space. It doesn't really matter too much which one you use. I have a bit of I like OpenAI, ChatGPT, but mostly because I started using it early. The one thing that I would say is try not to jump around too much. If you have specific tasks that you need, so sometimes people use Claude, for example, when they're doing really deep research or PhD kind of level stuff, or want to maybe use it for Excel documents, that sort of thing. But as long as you're sticking with the one LLM, then you've got one source of truth, and you want to make sure that and I'm just going to start calling it ChatGPT, that your ChatGPT is trained on you and your business. And this is critical. We're going to talk about using other tools, but we always start with ChatGPT in order to have that database and that knowledge about who we are, what our business is, what are our unique selling points, what type of competitors are we up against. The more that we use that one source of truth, the more that it gets to learn about us, and therefore the more it's able to help us when we're looking at how do we generate more revenue in our business, whether that's using it as a standalone tool or using it as a tool to prompt other tools, which we're going to look at today. So whichever source you're using, it doesn't matter too much, but consistency is really key there. And that the consistency theme is going to go across this whole webinar. You know, there's not really any smoking guns when it comes to sales, you know, generating revenue. I've got some pretty good things to share that might take away some of the grind, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to consistency, having a consistent approach, and showing up to be able to continuously stick to your strategy in order to be able to generate more revenue will get you further than any tricks. So we're going to start at the automated lead generation. So for any of us who regularly do lead generation, whether that's cold calling or maybe you go and do events, maybe you're big on LinkedIn and you do a lot of outreach on LinkedIn, maybe you send cold emails. There's lots of different strategies in order to be able to generate leads. So I'm going to share what I do today, and I'm going to share the tool that I use. So I've already mentioned, I've got this tool called Wallaxy. I'm going to give you a link at the end as well, which gives you a free month of Wallaxy. So I'm a partner of Wallaxy, so I get a little kick as well. But at the end of the day, it's a great tool for being able to generate leads without really having to do too much. It's a volume play. You know, you probably wouldn't use this to go after the 3 biggest, prospects in your market. But if you've got a large potential pool of prospects, this is a great tool for being able to connect and engage with them. So we're going to look at what do we do in ChatGPT, and then how do we use the secret weapon of Wallaxy. So I'd normally start with ChatGPT, and I'd be thinking about, okay, I want to connect with people on LinkedIn. And that's what this tool does. It helps me to connect with people on LinkedIn and then start a conversation with them. So I'm going to start on ChatGPT, and I might start with something like draft 5 connection requests for business owners in pharmaceutical industry. So you can insert whatever role or industry you're looking for there. I'm going to prompt it. I'm going to say, make it 240 characters or less. Talk about what specific value, and don't do any hard selling here. All we're trying to do is make an introduction and make sure that we're in the right space for them. And I might have a little first line icebreaker in there as well. And you can paste a copy of somebody who is that ICP, that ideal customer profile that you're trying to get in front of, that role that you're trying to get in front of, just to be able to help chat, to be able to understand, okay, this is who we're targeting. So I'd take that, I'd get 4 or 5 different connection requests type emails, and then I'll go and take them into Wallaxy, and I'll set Wallaxy up with a workflow where it will connect with, let's say, 2,000 people who are business owners, maybe with business size, say 11 to 50. So it's a smallish business. And it will send out connection requests, and I'll generally get about 30 to 40% acceptance rate, sometimes as high as 60 or 70, depending on kind of the target and what I'm doing with it. I'll then send a little follow-up message that just says, thanks for connecting, really. And often I get a response at that time. And then I might nurture that lead by sending them something. What other value can I give them? And that might be that I invite them to a webinar like this. Might be some people who are on here because of that. And it might be maybe like a free, it could be a PDF of a similar thing to this, the top 5 ways to generate revenue with AI. So I'm doing that. I set it up. It literally takes me 5 or 10 minutes to do, and that'll get me a week's worth of leads or 2 weeks worth of leads. So that's the lead generation. So second, we're moving on to sales productivity. So this can be kind of used at lots of different junctures in the sales process. So I'm putting it after lead gen, but it really could fall in lots of areas. And that is to be able to optimize the conversations that we're having with customers and repurpose them in a way that drives sales forward. So the starting point to this is that I record every meeting. So you've got Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, Google meetings, maybe telephone meetings, maybe face-to-face meetings. And I'll always ask permission, but I'll always try and record it because it's going to get the best outcome for everybody. Nobody wants to be relying on my brain to be able to remember what's happened in a meeting. And so if we can use AI or if we can record those meetings and then use AI to take the transcript and generate next steps for us, then that's going to be the best outcome. So I'll always take that transcript. I use a tool called Fathom for all of my recording. The three big ones that are out there are Fathom, Fireflies, and Otter. You can use the built-in ones. So Zoom has a built-in recorder, so does Gemini for Google Meet. I prefer using a third party. I think that the recordings are better and they follow you wherever you go. So if I go from one Zoom meeting, because my client uses Zoom, over to a Google Meet, which I use, it's still going to be there, and it stores it all on my Google Drive for me. So I use one of those, and I can take that over to ChatGPT and say something like, turn these call notes into a 4-line follow-up email with one next step and a calendar link. Keep it human, not salesy. And so I can set that up in order to be able to send a really good follow-up email. I use this for so many different things. I use it to create proposals. I use it to create action points for me. I've actually set it up so that it automates with Asana, which is my project management tool, so that I automatically have tasks that appear in my Asana. And if they're more sales related, then I'll link it to Pipedrive as well. So lots of different things we can do here. The next level, the ninja level, is to use an automation tool to be able to streamline this even further. So you can use a tool like Zapier or Make.com or N8N. Zapier is probably the easiest to use and kind of the most consumery. So we can use Zapier in order to have a trigger event, something like any meeting that has the word discovery in it, which would be for a discovery call. It's how I would structure my meetings. That it gets sent to OpenAI, and then it sends a follow-up email either to myself or to the client with the next steps and potentially even a proposal, depending on the nature of your sales process. So thousands of different ways that you can utilize that, but the days of having to have a conversation and then spend an hour creating a proposal or forgetting to do follow-up or forgetting to call them back because we didn't have a task that was automatically created for us, they're really gone if we can set ourselves up for success here. So a bit of a optimization that can be used at lots of different points there. Okay, so the next part is around customer retention. So often in sales, we speak so much about generating leads. We speak so much about having an effective sales process to get people through that sales pipeline. There is no better customer than your existing customers. So the more that we can spend time nurturing those customers, making sure that they're getting value from our products, looking for opportunities to be able to upsell them, looking for ways that we can leverage them to be able to create new leads or introduce us to or refer us to other prospects. So I would say often in a business, the most overlooked area. And so we've got this challenge, which is that, if we're slowly losing customers, then we're spending all our time churning, trying to find new ones to replace them. And so the solution to this is to get proactive. So what can we do in order to be able to get our customers engaging with us more? And what can we do to be able to help them to get more value out of the products or services that we offer? And ultimately, we want that to reduce the churn and then increase that lifetime value of the customer. So I'm going to start with something simple here. I'm going to go over to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, create a 3 email re-engagement sequence for customers inactive for 90 days. I can say what segment or what plan they're on or whatever my product or service is. I can set the tone. I want it to be helpful. I want it to be focused on ROI. What's in it for them? Why should they care? And then one call to action. So one thing that they should do, whether that is that they should log back into your system, or whether it's that they should use a next step or whatever it is. Okay, so I'm taking that sequence and then I'm thinking about how do I use that. So the first thing I need to do is identify in the data who are the people that might be disengaged with my business. And so lots of different ways that this can look. Could be that it sits in your project management software, could be in your SAP, lots of different ways that we can uncover this. But the idea is once we've found who those people are, how do we then have a conversation with them? And so taking those 3 re-engagement emails and putting them into an automated sequence. I use MailerLite. You could be using MailChimp. There's hundreds or thousands of different options of tools in this space. I like MailerLite. It's fairly cheap. It does everything that you need and not really anything that you don't. Has lots of automations in there that are super easy to use. And then we can start to track what's happening with this. So we can monitor the replies, we can look for re-engagement. And this is all going to give us lots of data. And the more data that we have, and we're going to talk about data in play number 5, then the more insights we can utilize in order to be able to generate more revenue. So customer retention, super important. The 4th one that we're looking at is marketing. Probably the thing that gets brought up the most with me is how do we generate more content for our business. So most people don't really like having to do social media. Most business owners anyway, I find. Some people do, some people love it, and great if that's you. But how do we make this as easy as possible? And so I'm going to give an example of something that I did in my business recently, where we created a tool, and that tool was a proposal generator. And so it's for a media business. They've got 6 or 7 different sales reps in their business, and they wanted to be able to have a tool that allowed them to create these more efficiently. So they're spending about 1 to 2 hours on creating proposals. We wanted them to be streamlined and aligned with each other. So how do we follow best practices to make sure that every rep is following a methodology that's going to generate a really good quality proposal? And then we looked at, and so we created this proposal generator for them. Once we finished the whole project, I thought, okay, what am I going to do with this content? And so, or this opportunity for content. And so I started with a 2-minute recording. I did a recording of a walkthrough about how this particular tool works. And it shows the way that they're able to input all the data into the user interface, how we use AI to then turn that into a really tight proposal that follows the theme. And then we connected it with Gamma, which is a great tool that I'm not talking about today, to be able to create proposals for them. We took that process from 1 to 2 hours down to 5 to 10 minutes, and way more effective in terms of the actual output that it was creating. So 2 minutes it took me to be able to generate that piece of content. And then I thought, well, what else do I want to do with that piece of content? And so I took it over to Chat. Chat knows my business very well. I used a transcriber I used the YouTube transcriber to be able to take that video and turn it into written content. And I plugged it into ChatGPT and I said, now I want a written case study that can go on my website. I want a blog that can go on a different page of my website. I want that to be slightly different to the case study, obviously. I want a LinkedIn post. I want a LinkedIn article that I could write. And I want a an Instagram comment as well. So I turned that one piece of content that literally took me 2 minutes to create. Maybe I think I did it 2 or 3 times, so it probably took me 10 minutes to create. And then maybe another 10 minutes to transcribe it. So let's say it's 20 minutes, but I've taken 5 or 6 different pieces of content out of that. So we just need to be thinking about what have we already got, or what can I create that's not going to be very hard for me. In the past, I would have started with a written case study on this particular example, and that would have taken me at least 1 or 2 hours. I would have gone back and forth because I'm a bit of a perfectionist with that stuff and really wanted it to be right. In this case, I did a 2-minute video and then popped the transcript into chat, and it turned it into an awesome case study for me, which I only did this yesterday, actually. So it's about to go live on my site. Okay, so publish more faster. That's just hopefully a good example that we can use. And let's move into the last one that I've got for today, which is around data-driven insights. So a lot of us have got a lot of data in our business. The biggest problem that I see with most organizations with data is a decentralization of data. We've got stuff everywhere. You know, we've got meta ads, we've got a CRM, we've got project management tools, we've got all of these areas with lots of different pieces of data. Now, in a perfect world, what you would do is centralize all of that data so that you can utilize it to be able to make better decisions, to be able to forecast trends, to be able to understand maybe why customers aren't buying a particular product. There's so much that we can do with that. But it's a pretty big job to go and do that. So I would start by breaking it down into little areas. So let's say, for example, you've got a CRM. There's a lot of data that sits in that CRM. You can download most of that data. I use Pipedrive CRM whilst I'm giving recommendations for different tools. I think that it is the best CRM for small businesses. I've used it in 3 of my own businesses, and I've probably implemented it in about 10 different businesses because I just think it's such an easy tool to be able to use. Anyway, I won't digress. But if we can identify the data that's in there, we can then utilize it to be able to do something. So I might download a spreadsheet from Pipedrive, or it could be maybe another area of my business. I use Asana, as I mentioned, for my project management tools. Maybe I want to see, you know, where projects are getting stuck, why they're taking longer, whatever it is. In the sales one, why you know, so in the example I've given here, summarize this Google Sheet, pipeline and 1 lost into 5 insights, 2 anomalies, and 3 actions for next week. So I'm taking it off the tool, I'm bringing it back over to my source of truth, which is ChatGPT. And then I'm looking for some insights, some anomalies, and 3 action points. Now, I don't know what I'm going to get here, but I will never know if I don't go through this process. And so this is going to potentially open up insights that I'm just not seeing on a day-to-day basis. So make it a habit. Think about where your data is stored. Think about how you can download it. What are the pieces that might have some interesting insights in there? And then utilize this tool. So if we're trying to do this on our own, for starters, we're busy. You know, we're just trying to get our next project out or win our next customer, whatever we're doing in our business life. The idea that we have the space to think strategically based on data is quite unlikely most of the time. So take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to be able to identify some of that. I'd really recommend doing this as a follow-up step, actually, after today, is just try and identify one area and then put a prompt similar to this one into chat, copy the spreadsheet in there. You can, obviously, if you're not familiar, you can add files to most LLMs, most ChatGPTs. You can also take screenshots. I do a lot of screenshot prompting. I just take photos of the screen that I'm using, sometimes literally with my camera if I'm working on different screens and things, and then I use my phone to be able to get it to work with that data. But of course, you can upload PDFs, Excel files. The LLMs are getting way better at reading diagrams now. So the amount of information that you can take just from a photo and be able to uncover insights is really extraordinary. Okay, so that is the fifth and final play that I'm going to talk about today, about how do we improve our win rates, how do we identify bottlenecks in our business, how do we, or in our sales process, in order to be more effective. So I'm going to jump over now and I'm going to show you the tool that I mentioned at the start, which is called Walaxy. As I said, I'm going to share a link with you at the end of this, which gives you a free month on Walaxy as well. So I'd recommend that you get in there, even if you just use it for the free month, and see what you get from it. But I'll show you how I use it. And then we can, and then we're going to wrap up after that. So I think we're pretty well on time. We've got 5 minutes left. I'm going to jump over to Walaxy here. Now, there's two main parts of what really goes on in Walaxy. The first is prospects, so leads, essentially. These are people who are on LinkedIn, and I have identified a certain ICP, an ideal customer profile. In this case, I downloaded yesterday business owners in companies that are 11 to 50 people, and I want to... and I can import a maximum of 2,500 people in one go. And so I did that. I had some duplicates. So you can see that I've got 2,181 in here because I had some that were already in a different campaign. And now I want to try and engage with these people. So I'm going to set up a campaign. So the second part, so the first part is prospects. The second part is campaign. I'm going to hit start campaign. And there's lots of things I can do. I can just send them an invitation so that I'm connected to them. I like using this invitation and 2 messages. And this is the one that I'm going to be sharing with you with my workflow of how I do this after in a link after the webinar as well. So I'm going to click on invitation and 2 messages. I'm going to call it invitation and 2 messages for SMBs, 10 to 50, and then I'm going to hit next. I'm going to choose from a list. So I'm going to use the list that I just identified. Yes, I'm going to add all of the prospects. Yes, I'm going to add a note. Hi, my name is Cam. I run free webinars that help small business owners grow revenue with AI. Hope we can connect. Now, some people don't add any message here, and that's not a bad strategy. But you get about the same response rate if you leave a decent message to a not so good message. I like telling them what I'm doing here. I like giving them some insight that this is actually, this is my approach. I run these free webinars, so there's sort of something in it for you. But if that's not your thing, then maybe you don't want to connect anyway. So I kind of think it's a bit of a filter. So I'll use that as my first message. Keep it nice and simple. I'm not doing anything salesy. I can then wait for 1 day, and I'm going to send a follow-up message. Thanks for connecting. Hope we can cross paths sometime. Now, if somebody responds to any of the messages, including my introduction, then they will automatically be taken out of the sequence. So it's not going to be weird if somebody writes to me and then I'm saying, thanks for connecting. Hope we can cross paths sometime, even though they've already messaged me. So I'm going to confirm that. And then I'm going to wait 5 days. I can change that. I'm going to make it 4 just to show you. And then I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to write, you can name these messages. I just leave it as the default message 9. And I'll write, hi there. I'm running a webinar next month on the whatever date it is, and therefore, would you like to join that? So as with most lead gen that's done on other platforms, one of the things that I really try to do is get them off that platform. It's great that we can connect on LinkedIn, but not everybody uses it all the time. It's also not my data. I could lose my LinkedIn account, or there's lots of things that could happen. Maybe LinkedIn, in 5 years, nobody uses it anymore. So I'm really trying to be able to use a sequence. And for me, this is a good way to be able to make a nice introduction, add some value to people, and then also be able to get some other data points for them as well. So that's essentially how I use this tool. I've got just 2 more slides. I know that I'm right at the end here. So we've covered these 5 areas. So lead gen, sales ops, and we looked at Zapier and Fathom for that. We've looked at customer retention. We spoke about using chat, and then MailerLite was the example that I used. Marketing efficiency, I actually didn't talk about Canva, but a great tool as well. And then we've got data-driven decisions. And so Google Sheets, I actually didn't speak much about this, but Google Sheets is a fantastic tool when it comes to building out databases. It's not just Excel or Google's version of Excel. There's so much that you can do with Sheets to be able to manipulate data in different ways, but also to be able to integrate it with other systems. So often I even got some tools that we build, like website tools, that rather than having a big expensive database, just have Google Sheets that sits behind it. People can log in and change data. It makes it super simple and easy. So certainly one that's worth exploring, possibly a topic for another day. So final slide for today. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm going to send an email out after this session. Feel free to reply and give me some feedback on the webinar, and let me know what you liked or what you'd like to see more of. I'm going to be running these every month. Consistency is key, and I take my own medicine. So we'll be seeing these every month, and I hope to see some of you in another one. I'm also offering a free 15-minute session for the first 10 people that want to join one of these, where I'm going to really try and implement one of these strategies for you in your business. So how do we tailor something that's going to be really right for you and your business? So feel free, there's a link in there. It links directly to my calendar, and you can set a 15-minute call with me. And then I'd really recommend starting with Ralaxy, and the link for that free month will be in there as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope that was 30 minutes well invested, not time spent. And I see lots of familiar faces in here. So thanks to everyone who is already in my network for coming in. I see a few new ones as well. So thank you for taking the time to come and see what this is all about. And I look forward to seeing some of you again. All right. All the best. Bye.